feeling particularly unmotivated in January of this new year, I want to let you know why that may be and what you can do about it. How's it going, Reinventors? I'm Amelia. This is Reinventing You. This is the channel where I want to inspire you to reinvent yourself because I want you to live a life of joy, fulfillment, and purpose. If you have not subscribed, I invite you to do that. If you have already subscribed, I invite you to give me a thumbs up. So why are we feeling particularly unmotivated at this time? I mean, I'll just be honest with you. This has been the least motivated January I've ever had. I mean, I don't feel like doing anything. I mean, I know that I need to make some planning for the year ahead. I know that I need to be doing some projects around the house to get ready to move. There's all this stuff I need to be doing. I don't have time to be sitting around, but that's all I want to do. I just want to sit. I want to catch up on my Netflix, which I did not watch that much television in 2020. I just want to tell you that right now. But let me tell you right now, I am ready to catch up and get ahead. All these shows everybody's been talking about, I want to see them now. But why is that? Why am I so unmotivated? Why am I could care less about anything? I mean, I did a vision board. I was pretty proud of myself for that. But let me tell you, I did it in 2020. So before I even got to the new year. So I sort of cheated, but it's probably a good thing. What do we do when we are feeling unmotivated? Or maybe you started out the year and you got, real excited and you made a resolution and you watched all these videos to get prepared for the year. And then all of a sudden it's like, by 3 days, I won't be doing my whatever I'm resolved to do for the new year anyway, so I might as well give it up. If you're feeling that way, I want to give you some ideas of why that might be and also, what you can do about it.
One of the things that I learned recently by watching a Reiki practitioner / ASMR artist was that this time of year, in January, according to nature, is a time of rest. I mean, when you think about it, animals hibernate in the winter. There are, everything is dead. The leaves have fallen. Things under the ground are buried deep. In a lot of places around the world, especially in the winter time, it is, cold and dark. There's less light in the winter time. So that it is a time that our natural, circadian rhythm, our natural body rhythm, the nature says it is time to rest, not time to be, active and not time to do things. So I think there is a part of this time of year that tells us that we need to slow down, that tells us that it's not time to get all, active and, go for it. This is the time we need to hibernate. This is the time we need to rest and to help our body rejuvenate so that we have the energy for the spring, for the summer, for the fall. And I think we've sort of forgotten that. We get so caught up in the January madness that we say, we don't need to rest. We don't need to slow down. This is the time to gear up, not do anything. So I think that I've never thought about it this way, but I think this naturally we're supposed to take some time, some downtime. And when we don't do it, it leads us to not following through. It leads us to not being motivated. It leads us to having some ideas but not actually doing any action toward them, not doing those action steps or those action items. We are stuck. And then we don't understand why, and then that just leads to further problems.
The second reason that you may be feeling unmotivated is because of grief. And I want to explain what I'm talking about. 2020 was a hard year. It was a really hard year. And many of us lost loved ones, whether it was because of the COVID-19 virus or for another reason. it has just been a hard year, and it was a year of promise. I mean, I remember when the new year came, it was a huge deal. It was a new decade, it was exciting. There was an election plan. So, it was like, oh, all these ideas are going to be, political ideas are going to be, coming around. We're going to be debating, I mean, there was just some excitement about 2020. And then the coronavirus happened and we shut down and we were wearing masks. We had Black Lives Matter movement, which actually had been around for a while, but it really brought it to the fore, which was an important fact. And then we had the election, and of course it was nothing like any election we'd had before. And then are we over the election? I think we're through the election now because the inauguration is just around the corner. But you know what I mean? And then it was just a hard year. It was a hard year financially. It was a hard year for the economy. It was a hard year for people not being able to see their loved ones, or if they did go to see their loved ones, and they put everybody in danger. And so it was sort of like this negative thing. There's a lot of time was spent on Zoom calls, and instead of being face to face, you had a lot of, Skyping and distance learning and all of these things. We're in grief mode. And even if we had not been coming out of a year like 2020, there always is some grief involved because you're saying goodbye to something that you've been through. And even though we have, been through all of this together, the whole world really, it's still a hard thing to understand and get over and move on. We are still grieving. So I think that's part of the reason I am, having a hard time with the new year. And personally, we've also gotten the empty nest syndrome, which we should have had back in the fall. But because of the coronavirus, our son decided to wait until this winter to move out of the house and move in with friends near his school. Now, he's still remote learning and all that, but it was a good decision for him. So we had to get used to that. I mean, that is a part of grieving. When somebody leaves your household, it's a huge change in your life. So maybe you did something similar. And even if you had a child in your household who actually went to school in the fall, perhaps they came home during the holidays and then left again. So you're just kind of revisiting that emptiness, that grief. Maybe your children moved home and you're grieving the loss of that empty nest. We are all going through some grief. And when you're grieving, it really is hard to get motivated to do something. We're just going to have to give ourselves some slack. Realize we are grieving. Now, if you are really depressed, you may still feel, you may feel down, there's a lack of sunlight. We're not getting out like we normally are. Try to get some sunshine, go outside, even on, a cold day, wrap up, but put your face in the sun for a few minutes just to get some vitamin D, or take some vitamin D supplements. All of those can help. However, if you are feeling so depressed and so down, especially if you're feeling like maybe ending your life or it doesn't feel like you can go on, I highly advise you to check out the suicide hotline. I have that information at the bottom of the screen and also in the descriptions below. That is just really important. Sometimes there's some times in our lives where we are depressed or down and we do need some help. If you have been seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist for issues of depression, this is a good time to pick up the phone, call them and say, hey, I need an extra appointment, or maybe I have to up my meds. Something like that can be helpful. And I know I'm kind of moved on to what you can do about it, but I think it's real important to recognize that we may be grieving and may be depressed, but if there's a serious issue, please take care of it. Do not wait. Don't wait for the spring. Don't wait for, quote, better times. Go ahead and take care of that today. Another reason why we may not be as motivated in this season is actually a proven scientific fact that sometimes speaking aloud your goals can actually not be productive for you. And this is in terms of a New Year's resolution. If you have made a resolution this year and you spoke it out loud and you told 20 people, then that actually creates this false idea in your head that you've already done it. Now, this was a study. It's actually been a couple of studies. There was one in the UK done a couple of years ago, another one in 2017 done through NYU that said that if you speak
something out loud, a lot of times it's your brain thinks that's your intention has been done. If there's like this disconnect between speaking and doing, a lot of times our psyche or brain or whatever just thinks, oh, well, we've done it. We've said we're going to do it. We've done it. And that can make us be less motivated to do what we need to do. The third reason why we may not be motivated is that we've spoken our ideas out loud. Now we think, oh, well, we've done it. We put it on, we put it out in the world. It's a done deal. Now, there are people who believe in something called manifestation. That is, if you speak it out loud, then the universe is going to listen to you and carry out your ideas. I think there's a power in speaking things out loud, and maybe it's more in terms of speaking to yourself, like telling yourself that, speaking out loud into the universe, versus telling other people what your intentions are. It's like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and telling other people that, and they say, oh, that's great. Well, you've already gotten your affirmation. You've already, said, this is my intention. Somebody said, that's great. Why do you have to do more? What's in it for you? When in reality, it's probably best if you don't say something to the other person. Now, if you say something out loud to yourself, it's a different matter. You're talking to yourself, you're motivating yourself, and maybe that's where the universe hears you. I don't know. I've never really experienced that myself. Some people have. There's a lot of information on YouTube about manifestation and all this kind of stuff. I think there's something to having a pure intention, like having, this is my goal, this is my vision, this is my intention, I'm going to try and do this. But I think there's also a way of saying to everyone, this is my intention, and that's basically all you do. So you've got to take that intention, you have to also act on it. You can't just expect, well, the universe is a genie in the bottle and bing, that's going to happen to you. You also have to work for it. And I think that's what's missing in terms of speaking something aloud and actually having it happen. So you've got to put some work into it. But it's that, psyche. What happened in the study at NYU, the students at a German university were asked to fill out a questionnaire on their commitment to becoming a psychologist. And one of the things they were told said, oh, I'm going to take my reading more seriously, or I'm going to study more. And at the end of the experiment, they found that they didn't really do what they said they were going to do. So you have, what's the word? It's not good. So the idea that the study got people to understand was that speaking out loud your intentions gives you a premature idea of completeness. Speaking out loud your ideas gives you a premature idea of completeness, so that it's really best if you don't give your ideas out, if you don't set your goals and then speak them to everyone. Now, that doesn't mean you can't tell anyone, but just realize the less people you tell, the better off that you are. Also, I've said this before, if you have a goal, you need to make some baby steps to get to the major goal. So that's another, part of the process that I guess I've also jumped ahead and told you what you to do. So just know that just because you had a New Year's resolution, you told 50 people, doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. And there's a scientific reason for it. You think you've already done it. Now, one of the things that I realize in talking about not being motivated is that I am very much influenced by a white middle class Western culture. And I say that in terms of, I've done some traveling in my time. In the mid-90s, I spent some time studying in India. In India, they have they break down they have a lot of people there, so they break down work. So if you go to a place to shop, they have somebody whose job is it to sweep the steps as you come in. They have somebody whose job it is to open the door for you. There's a person who takes your money. There's a person who gives you a receipt. There's a person who bags your purchase.
it is all broken down so that everybody has a job. And it's just a very unusual way of thinking, because my Western culture says, well, you've got to, that's not very efficient. You've got to be more efficient. But also in India, they take, I guess we'd call it a siesta. There's a time in the afternoon where literally everything stops because the electricity is cut off. Yes, in the middle of the afternoon in Indian heat. But anyway, that's another matter. But I mean, there's like a forced time of stillness, and Westerners have a really hard time with that. However, it's not just Indians. When I have traveled to Ecuador, and I did 4 different mission trips in the last decade, one of the things that they would tell us is, now, we're not here just to work. What we want you to do is also spend time with the children, because we were at a church, and what the work we were doing was going to eventually help the children out. And they said it's more important to have those relationships with the kids than actually, getting those projects done. And then they would also say, we're not trying to finish this whole thing. We wanted to get, all the rebar tied in this period of time. We wanted to pour all the cement and get that done in this period of time. We wanted to get all of these things completed, all of these projects, so that they would have things done. But that's not the way they were thinking. The Ecuadorians were like, no, we're going to take our time, and you'll do your part, then the next group will come in and they'll do their part. In the afternoon we'll have some time of rest. And when we say rest, we mean everybody has to rest. Nobody's supposed to work. Spend time with the kids. I mean, it was just a totally different way of thinking it. So I tell you all this to say that I wonder how much my understanding of being motivated or not being motivated is my Western white middle class background. If you are from another culture or another race or have a different point of view, in the comments below, let me know how you see this time of year. I mean, are you feeling not motivated but find it to be a natural thing? Are you feeling not motivated but not worried about it? All those kinds of things. Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear from you. Now, I've talked a little bit throughout this video about what you can do if you're not feeling motivated this year. And one of those things is, if you are particularly feeling depressed, even suicidal, please get help immediately. Don't wait until the spring or some other idea, time in your head. So just go ahead and get some help now. Like I said, I'm putting on the bottom of the screen suicide helpline. Also, it's in the descriptions. It's just very important to know those things. Also, if you are feeling, down or grieving, that's okay. Give yourself permission to grieve. Give yourself permission to take some time and not do anything. I know it's countercultural. It's something we're not expecting, but I think it's so important that we just sometimes just be still and rest. And if this is the time to do it, then this is the time to do it. If you have a goal that you've spoken out loud, if you have a resolution and you spoke it out, or you told all these people, now is actually the time to maybe sit down and work out how can you reach that goal. In other words, if you said, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, well, it's cold outside, you don't want to get out and exercise, it's miserable, and so now you're feeling like, well, I'll never, lose 20 pounds. Well, what can you do? I have a quote, and I'm going to give a whole video on it, but the quote is, don't let the things you can't do stop you from doing the things that you can. And think about, if you're going to lose 20 pounds, you can't get out and exercise. It's really not helpful. You don't do very well on Zoom exercise calls or all those kinds of things. Then what can you do? You can get better sleep, drink lots of water, eat more healthy. I mean, there are things that you can do right now without having to get out and exercise. So think about whatever your goals are, what can you do right now? And also write down the baby steps, write down the action steps. What are the little things you can do? One thing every day that can get you toward your goals. You're not going to reach them by the end of January. I'm just telling you right now. but what can you do at this time, and what are the steps that you can take toward those goals? And one of the biggest things about this time and not feeling motivated is also being kind to yourself. I just read a recent article. I found this article, it was actually through the BBC, and it said why self-compassion, not self-esteem, leads to success. And it was all about being kind to yourself is actually helpful in terms of having a success no matter what you want to do. It's better to be kind to yourself than self-critical. It's better to be kind to yourself and self-forgiving than being harsh and telling yourself you're not any good. All of those things are very important to our eventual success. So if you're feeling not motivated right now, don't be harsh on yourself. Don't feel like you're the terrible person because of it. Realize this may be something that's happening in nature and you're just more aware of it, that you're just going to let that, take course, and you're going to be kind to yourself and not criticize yourself and not give yourself a hard time for not feeling motivated or feeling a little blue or whatever it is. Be kind to yourself. If this is a time when you're not feeling motivated, then create some other time where you can really step up the work and get cranking on your goals. It could be Valentine's Day, President's Day. It could be, March 1st or even the spring equinox. Think about a time that's coming in the future where you can step up and get more motivated and be more goal-oriented and be more, living out your vision board. But if you're not feeling that way right now, be kind to yourself. I hope this video was helpful for you. If so, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out the next video where I'll be talking about the quote that I gave you in this one. Have a great one.